Nuclear power is the use of nuclear reactions that release nuclear energy to generate heat, which most frequently is then used in steam turbines to produce electricity in a nuclear power station. The term includes nuclear fission, nuclear decay and nuclear fusion. Presently, the nuclear fission of elements in the actinide series of the periodic table produce the vast majority of nuclear energy in the direct service of humankind, with nuclear decay processes, primarily in the form of geothermal energy, and radioisotope thermoelectric generators, in niche uses making up the rest. Nuclear power stations, excluding the contribution from naval nuclear fission reactors, provided 11% of the world's electricity in 2012, somewhat less than that generated by hydroelectric stations at 16%. Since electricity accounts for about 25% of humanity's energy usage, with the majority of the rest coming from fossil fuel-reliant sectors such as transport, manufacture and home heating, nuclear fission's contribution to the global final energy consumption is about 2.5%, a little more than the combined global electricity production from new renewables, wind, solar, biofuel and geothermal power, which together provided 2% of global final energy consumption in 2014. Regional differences in the use of fission energy are large. Fission energy generation, with a 20% share of the U.S. electricity production, is the single largest deployed technology among current low-carbon power sources in the country. In addition, 2/3 of the European Union's 27 nations' low-carbon energy is produced by fission. Some of these nations have banned its generation, such as Italy, which ended the use of fission electric generation, which started in 1963. In 1990, France is the largest user of nuclear energy, deriving 75% of its electricity from fission. Along with other sustainable energy sources, nuclear fission power is a low-carbon power generation method of producing electricity, meaning that it is in the renewable energy family of low associated greenhouse gas emissions per unit of energy generated. As all electricity supplying technologies use cement etc. during construction, emissions are yet to be brought to zero. A 2014 analysis of the carbon footprint literature by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reported that fission electricity's embodied total life cycle emission intensity value of 12 grams CO2 eq. kWh is the lowest out of all commercial baseload energy sources, and second lowest out of all commercial electricity technologies known, after wind power, which is an intermittent energy source with embodied greenhouse gas emissions per unit of energy generated of 11 grams CO2 eq. kWh. Each result is contrasted with coal and fossil gas at 820 and 490 grams CO2 eq. kWh, with this translating into, from the beginning of fission electric power station commercialization in the 1970s, having prevented the emission of about 64 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gases that would have otherwise resulted from the burning of fossil fuels in thermal power stations. In 2013, the IAEA reported that there are 437 operational civil fission electric reactors in 31 countries, although not every reactor is producing electricity. In addition, there are approximately 140 naval vessels using nuclear propulsion in operation, powered by some 180 reactors. As of 2013, attaining a net energy gain from sustained nuclear fusion reactions, excluding natural fusion power sources such as the sun, remains an ongoing area of international physics and engineering research, with commercial fusion power production remaining unlikely before 2050. In 2015, the IAEA report that worldwide there were 67 civil fission electric power reactors under construction in 15 countries including Gulf states such as the United Arab Emirates, Over half of the 67 total being built are in Asia, with 28 in the People's Republic of China, with the most recently completed fission electric reactor to be connected to the electrical grid, as of August 2015, occurring in Wolsong Nuclear Power Plant in the Republic of Korea. 5 other new grid connections were completed by the PRC so far this year. In the U.S., 4 new Generation 3 reactors are under construction at Vogtla and Summer Station, while a 5th is nearing completion at Watts Bar Station. All 5 are expected to enter service before 2020. In 2013, 4 aging uncompetitive U.S. reactors were closed. According to the World Nuclear Association, the global trend is for new nuclear power stations coming online to be balanced by the number of old plants being retired. There is a social debate about nuclear power. Proponents, such as the World Nuclear Association and environmentalists for nuclear energy, contend that nuclear power is a safe, sustainable energy source that reduces carbon emissions. Opponents, such as Greenpeace International and NIRS, contend that nuclear power poses many threats to people and the environment. Far-reaching fission power reactor accidents, or accidents that resulted in medium to long-lived fission product contamination of inhabited areas, have occurred in Generation I and II reactor designs blueprinted between 1950 and 1980. These include the Chernobyl disaster which occurred in 1986, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, and the more contained 3 Mile Island accident. There have also been some nuclear submarine accidents. In terms of lives lost per unit of energy generated, analysis has determined that fission electric reactors have caused less fatalities per unit of energy generated than the other major sources of energy generation. Energy production from coal, petroleum, natural gas and hydroelectricity has caused a greater number of fatalities per unit of energy generated due to air pollution and energy accident effects. However, the economic costs of nuclear power accidents is high, and meltdowns can render areas uninhabitable for very long periods. The human cost of evacuations of affected populations and lost livelihoods is also significant. Japan's 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, which occurred in a reactor design from the 1960s, prompted a re-examination of nuclear safety and nuclear energy policy in many countries. Germany plans to close all its reactors by 2022, and Italy has reaffirmed its ban on electric utilities generating, but not importing, fission-derived electricity. In 2011, the International Energy Agency halved its prior estimate of new generating capacity to be built by 2035. In 2013, Japan signed a deal worth $22 billion, in which Mitsubishi Heavy Industries would build 4 modern ATMI reactors for Turkey. In August 2015, following 4 years of near-zero fission electricity generation, Japan began restarting its fission fleet, after safety upgrades were completed, beginning with Sendai Fission Electric Station. Use. In 2011, nuclear power provided 10% of the world's electricity. In 2007, the IAEA reported there were 439 nuclear power reactors in operation in the world, operating in 31 countries. However, many have now ceased operation in the wake of the Fukushima nuclear disaster while they are assessed for safety. In 2011, worldwide nuclear output fell by 4.3%, the largest decline on record, on the back of sharp declines in Japan and Germany. Since commercial nuclear energy began in the mid-1950s, 2008 was the first year that no new nuclear power plant was connected to the grid, although 2 were connected in 2009. Annual generation of nuclear power has been on a slight downward trend since 2007. decreasing 1.8% in 2009 to 2,558 terawatt-hours, with nuclear power meeting 13 to 14% of the world's electricity demand. One factor in the nuclear power percentage decrease since 2007 has been the prolonged shutdown of large reactors at the Kashiwazaki-Kariwa nuclear power plant in Japan following the Niigata-Chuetsuoki earthquake. The United States produces the most nuclear energy, with nuclear power providing 19% of the electricity it consumes, while France produces the highest percentage of its electrical energy from nuclear reactors, 80% as of 2006. In the European Union as a whole, nuclear energy provides 30% of the electricity. Nuclear energy policy differs among European Union countries, and some, such as Austria, Estonia, Ireland and Italy, have no active nuclear power stations. In comparison, France has a large number of these plants, with 16 multi-unit stations in current use. In the U.S., while the coal and gas electricity industry is projected to be worth $85 billion by 2013, nuclear power generators are forecast to be worth $18 billion. Many military and some civilian ships use nuclear marine propulsion, a form of nuclear propulsion. A few space vehicles have been launched using full-fledged nuclear reactors. 33 reactors belong to the Soviet RORSAT series and one was the American SNAP-10A. International research is continuing into safety improvements such as passively safe plants, the use of nuclear fusion, and additional uses of processed heat such as hydrogen production, for desalinating seawater, and for use in district heating systems. Use in space. Both fission and fusion appear promising for space propulsion applications, generating high emission velocities with less reaction mass. This is due to the much higher energy density of nuclear reactions, some 7 orders of magnitude more energetic than the chemical reactions which power the current generation of rockets. Radioactive decay has been used on a relatively small scale, mostly to power space missions and experiments by using radioisotope thermoelectric generators such as those developed at Idaho National Laboratory.